character feeling sad? What was your
Because he could
character's...
not pass it properly.
And what probably happened when he couldn't pass it properly? What probably happened?
His partner could not catch it.
Yes, and what did his partner do then? Nathan, what did his partner do when he couldn't pass it properly?
The ball dropped onto the floor.
Okay, and how did the partner react to that? Do you think the partner was happy that that happened?
No.
No, right? No, he probably scolded Ramus, right, for dropping the ball, and that probably made Ramus feel sad, right? So whenever you give a feeling for your character in the story, so introducing your character, telling us what your character is doing, passing the ball, and giving us an insight into your character's feelings is all part of the first paragraph, the introduction, right? We show you the character, we show you what the character is like, and then we tell you what the character is feeling. One more thing to add, like what I asked Nathan and I guided him into, was why your character felt that way, right? So Nathan said that Ramus was feeling sad, right, when he fumbled or dropped the ball. Why? Because probably his partner scolded him, right, for dropping the ball, and then he felt very bad about himself. Am I right, Nathan? Is that how he felt? Yeah, right. Okay, so all of that can go into your first paragraph. So we introduce the reader to your character. We talk about your character's like what he's like, and then we go into a little bit about why your character is feeling that way. Okay. So far, is everybody okay? Is everybody clear? Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay, very good. So we are all clear about what goes into an introduction, right? The introduction contains the character, right? It also contains the character's feelings as well as the character's reasons for feeling that way. Now, there's something else very important that happens in the introduction besides the character. Can anyone tell me? What else happens in the introduction? And we talked about this under Fearless Phil, right? Fearless Phil was, where was Fearless Phil? What was he doing, right? Where was he? Anybody, can you all remember where was Fearless Phil and what was he doing? Okay, Toshanov, go ahead, tell us. Unmute yourself and tell us where he was and what he was doing.
He was at the mountain.
Okay, he was climbing a mountain, right? He was climbing a mountain when all those animals appeared in front of him, right? So likewise here, where is your character when he's passing the ball, when the ball drops, when he gets scolded by his partner? Where is this happening? Anyone want to tell Mr. Pang where this was happening to your character? Would someone else like to answer beside Toshana and beside Nathan, right? Someone else wants to volunteer to try to answer. Muchen, go ahead. Maybe unmute yourself and tell us, where do you think this character was when it happened?
In the school at the basketball court.
Okay, very good. That's a good guess, right? So maybe they were playing basketball, right? And then in the middle of the game, right? Your character, in this case, Nathan's character was Ramus, didn't manage to pass the ball properly, and then he was scolded and he felt really sad. Okay, so that's the setting, right? So the character and the setting must both appear in the introduction, okay, which is what I'm talking about here, right? So you must tell us where it happened. Oh, at the basketball court, right? Probably during recess, because you can't just play basketball as and when you like. Am I right, everybody? Can we just step out of class and play basketball whenever we like? No, right? Yeah. So what are the two times in school, two times where we are allowed to step into the basketball court and play basketball? Anybody want to tell me what are the two times that we are allowed to play basketball? There are two times of the day, right? Chloe Tan, you want to tell me? Unmute yourself and tell us what are the two times.
During PE.
That's one time. What's the other time that you could possibly go to the basketball court to play?
Recess.
Okay, very good, right? And I think if some of you stay back in school, you might be able to play after school as well, right? Okay, if you happen to be having lessons after school, okay, that could be, right? So choosing the right setting, knowing the time when you are able to go to that setting is very important, okay? So all of this must appear in the introduction, right? The character and the setting. The character, how he feels, what he does. The setting, what time of the day it is, where it is. Very important to introduce in your introduction, okay? Next, your rising action or the appearance of your problem, okay? So something goes wrong, okay? So in this case, we already have the problem, right? The boy drops the ball, okay? So the problem gets introduced in the story, okay? And then what happens to the problem? How your character solves the problem is going to be the next section, okay? Which is the climax, okay? The problem becomes bigger, okay? What do I mean by the problem becomes bigger? So for example, right, if my problem is I dropped the ball, what could make the problem even worse? Anybody want to tell me? If let's say my character drops the ball, right? What could get worse after he drops the ball? What could make the situation even worse or the problem even bigger? Can I have someone who's not yet answered to try? Clavius? Yeah, try. What could get worse after I drop the ball or my character drops the ball? Okay, Clavius, you can try to unmute yourself now.
Also don't know how to catch the ball.
Okay,
Also,
he drops the ball. He doesn't know how to catch the ball. But what can get worse after that? Okay. What could happen between him and his partner that would make things worse? What could happen between him and his partner that would make things worse? Nathan, you want to try?
His partner would become angry with him.
Okay, very good. Yeah, maybe his partner loses his temper and then they both get into an argument. Do you think that that's even worse than dropping the ball? Yeah, right. Yeah, so the problem gets worse in the climax. In other words, in the first paragraph, I introduce my character. In the second paragraph, I introduce my problem, right? My character drops the ball. He gets very sad because, his friend scolds him. And then in the third paragraph, they get into an argument or even worse, a fight, maybe, right? Yeah, so that's a really big problem. They get into an argument or they get into a fight. That will be how the problem gets worse, okay? Now, between an argument and a fight, which one do you think is more serious? An argument or a fight? Let's have, okay, Zayla, can you tell me?
Fight.
A fight. Why is a fight more serious than an argument?
Because an argument is just speaking.
Whereas, don't stop there. When you're comparing two things, you must always mention both.
And a fight is like you use hands to fight.
Okay, you probably get hurt more badly when you're in a fight. Am I right? So the problem becomes bigger. So if I'm looking at a bigger problem, which one would you choose, Zayla? Would you choose an argument or a fight?
Argument.
An argument? Really? Why not a fight?
Because if you do a fight, then you'll get hurt.
Yes, but don't you want a bigger problem in your story? When you're writing a story, don't you want to read about something that's a lot bigger than it is smaller? What do you all think, everybody? When you're reading a story, would you prefer to read a story about something really big, or would you prefer to read a story about something really tiny? Like, would you read about someone spraining their leg? Would you do that? Do you think that that's important enough to read about? I don't know. What do you all think? Would someone like to respond to that? Would you want to read about something really big or something really small? What do you all think? Toshana? Okay, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
maybe the boy's
Toshana,
partner.
my question is whether you would like to read about something really big or really small. I'm not asking you for another example, okay? You must answer the question I ask, not the one that you have in your mind, okay? Chloe, go ahead.
Something very big.
Why? Why would you want to read about something really big and not something really small?
So it's like very surprising. Like this
Okay, right.
happened.
It's more exciting and more surprising, right? Okay, good. Chloe makes a good point. Now, when you all read the news, right, do you all, have you all seen newspapers? Usually the newspapers will cover very big things, right? Do you think the newspaper will cover it when you have a small cut on your finger? Do you think that will appear in the news? No, right? Yeah, that would be very silly, right? Imagine if the newspaper reported on how, Mr. Pang got a cut on his index finger. Do you think that that is news worth reading about? No, right? Yeah. So same thing when you write a story, right? And you're spending a lot of time and effort to write a story. Do you think you just want to write about a small problem or do you want to write about a big problem? Right? Okay. Don't you think it's logical that I want to write about a big problem, right? So that it's worth reading about. Okay. Zayla, do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you understand what Mr. Pang is trying to say? Right? So I would try to choose a problem that's bigger. So the thing to remember is either you go big or then you go home, right? Go big or go home, right? Either you do a story about a big problem or you don't do it at all. Okay, please don't change the settings, everybody, right? I know that you are requesting for recordings of that. Please don't do that because it's very distracting. I have to constantly deny all your requests. Is that clear, Nathan? Please don't fiddle with the settings. Focus on the lesson, or else I'm going to have to push you out into the waiting room. All right, Nathan, I'm already scolding you during the recording. That's already not a very good look for you. Please do not fiddle with the settings. It's very distracting. Is that clear, Nathan? Right, that's not a very good thing to do during a meeting and then I have to attend to it and stop my teaching. Okay, please don't do that. And the rest of you, please learn from Nathan's negative example. Do not change the settings or distract yourself. Please focus on the lesson. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, or else I'm going to have to put you out into the waiting room. Okay, so remember, just to recap, the introduction contains the characters, right? The rising action contains the problem, right? Something goes wrong, right? He drops the ball, right? He gets scolded by his friend, and then the climax makes the problem even worse, right? Maybe him and his friend get into a fight. Okay, they get into a fight, and then the friend is like hurting him and punching him and stuff, and he's getting into trouble. Okay, now the next section is when we need to. All right, so I talked about this already. Okay, it's the biggest moment. This is where the problem gets worse, right? Okay. And then the next problem is, the next section is when the problem gets solved, okay? So, how would a problem like a fight get solved? Okay, is winning the fight a way to solve it? Not really, right? Okay, it's not about who wins the fight, right? So how would you solve the problem of a fight between two students? Who would you introduce in order to end the fight or to stop the fight so that it doesn't get any worse? How would you solve the problem? Okay, Chloe Tan, go ahead.
By like telling the person that is fighting with you, stop it. You may stop it.
Well, I don't think that would probably work, right? Because the both of you are very angry and you're fighting. So you probably need some help to stop the fight, right?
By
Okay.
telling a teacher.
So maybe a teacher might come by and then stop you all from fighting. Okay, maybe the teacher who is in charge of the basketball court, right? They're usually teachers there, right? Or they're teachers in the canteen, right? They will come in to stop the fight. Do you think that this is a good way to stop the fight, everybody? Do you think teachers would stop fights? Yes, right? I'm sure teachers won't just stand by and clap while you're fighting, right? Or they won't like cheer you while you're fighting, right? Teachers will actually stop the fight, come in and break it apart or stop the two students from fighting. Okay, so that could be the action that another character takes to solve the problem. So that is what happens when the problem is solved. Okay, that's what happens, right, in the following action. Okay, the problem gets worse, but now the problem gets better. Okay, so we're coming down the mountain already. Okay, we're coming to the end of the story. So in this case, perhaps a teacher steps in, right, to stop the fight from happening. Okay, and a lesson is learned. Now, when two students fight over a ball that is dropped and the teacher stops them and scolds them, what kind of lesson do you think they might learn from such an incident? Let's have Okay, maybe we have someone who has not answered yet. Huh? Kingsley, what lesson would you learn from such an experience? If you were in a situation like this, what lesson would you learn? Give it a try. Unmute yourself.
By not fighting.
I'm sorry, Kingsley, can you please say again? I can't really hear you very clearly. Can you go closer to the microphone so I can hear you more clearly?
By stopping the fight.
I'm asking you what is the lesson you learn, not what you would do. What lesson would you learn?
By not fighting.
Why would you not fight? What lesson would you learn in order for you not to fight in the future?
Because if you fight, you will get hurt.
Can you speak up a bit louder, please, Kingsley?
Because if you fight, you will get hurt.
Okay, because other people will get hurt. Maybe because you might learn, right? If you are the character, you might learn that you should tell the teacher instead of, getting into a fight, right? You might want to get the teacher's help, right? In case you are being scolded or bullied by your friend, instead of taking matters into your own hands and fighting with your friend, right? If you are the one being bullied or if you are the one being scolded, right? If you are the character like Remus that dropped the ball, you might want to get someone to help you, get your teacher to help you instead of taking matters into your own hands. So that's an example of how you might learn a lesson. And that is what happens in the last paragraph, right? So you will learn a lesson, you will finish the story. Perhaps the two of you are punished in this story and you learn the lesson not to fight with your friend, but to tell the teacher whenever your friend or someone else bullies you or makes fun of you or scolds you without a good reason, right? Okay, so that could be how the story ends, okay? So the 5 points of the story mountain are as follows, right? And it's good to remember at the end of the story, did your character manage to tie up all the loose ends? Was there a lesson that was learned, right? And how might this change your character in the future? So maybe your character becomes more careful, or your character becomes, less prone to engaging in fights. Those might be some of the outcomes that might happen in the story, okay? So your readers must learn a lesson when they read your story, right? So in this case, perhaps it might be about looking for the teacher's help instead of taking matters into their own hands. Okay, so that's an example, right? These are some of the other ways that we can make our story more interesting, right? For example, by using similes and metaphors. Can you all remember what similes are? We learned them especially in Fearless Phil, right? Can anyone remember any similes that we learned from Fearless Phil? Anyone want to volunteer a simile? Chloe, go ahead. Maybe give us a few.
As fast as light came bouncing back, he bolted down the mountain track.
As fast as light. Very good. That's a simile. Can you remember another one?
Like big rocks in a river.
His muscles were like big rocks in a river, right? Okay, very good. That's good enough. Thank you very much. So we learned about many different similes and metaphors. So a simile is as fast as light, okay? A metaphor is big like the rocks in a river, okay? So you're using something to represent something else in a metaphor, and you're comparing one thing to another in a simile. That's what Chloe gave to us, right? One simile and one metaphor. So that's excellent. You can use this in your story, right? In order to make your characters more vivid and more interesting, you can use your simile to describe them very much like how Fearless Phil was described using similes and metaphors, okay? Very good, okay? You can also use your 5 senses, right? To talk about what you hear, what you see, what you touch, what you taste, what you smell in the story, right? So in a fight, right? In the story where two characters are fighting, you might You might use the sound to describe how violent the fight is. You might use the sense of sight to describe what's happening between the two people who are fighting. You might even use the sense of touch, right, to describe how bruised and painful the person is after they are hit by the other person. Okay, so using 5 senses can really make your story much more interesting. Okay, so all right, very good. We are almost at the half an hour mark, huh? And so I promised you that I wouldn't exceed 30 minutes today. So today, your task is on SLS, okay? There will be a story that I would like you to write about helping a new friend, a new classmate, okay? So this picture has been put up in SLS, and I've also put in the slides for today's presentation on Story Mountain to help you so that you're able to write your story. Okay, so your mission over this weekend is to write a story of at least 120 words over 5 paragraphs, right, about helping a new friend, a friend who is a new student in the class. Do you all understand what you're supposed to do, right? Good. You have all weekend to do this. You have today, you have tomorrow, you have Sunday. In order to finish writing this on SLS, you need to type in your response, okay, on SLS, and then submit it by Sunday night. Okay, Mr. Pang will check on Sunday afternoon, and I will send a reminder to those of you who haven't yet submitted it by Sunday afternoon. Then you all will remember and submit it by Sunday night. Is everybody okay? Is everybody clear? Right? I put helping words inside the SLS assignment, so you all can use the helping words to complete your story as well. Okay, so take your time, relax. That's the only piece of homework you have for today. So I hope that you will try to remember what are the Story Mountain elements and you apply it in writing your own story. So remember, introduction must have the character and the setting. Rising action must introduce the problem and what went wrong. Climax must be the problem getting worse, right? And then your falling action is when the problem gets solved, and your conclusion or your ending is when your story finishes and your character learns a lesson. Okay, that's the summary of what we've covered today. Do you have any questions, anyone? Are you all able to complete this very short composition by the end of this weekend? Do you think you all can do it? You all have access to SLS, right? Okay, very good. Thank you for being so focused and participative during this lesson. I will see you all again on Monday, and next Friday we will continue with another lesson on writing. Okay, I'll teach you how to write even better. We'll do a second draft of what we write this weekend. Okay, so please make sure you finish everything by Sunday. I will send another reminder to you on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, if you haven't finished it by then. All right, thank you everybody. I'll see you all on Monday. Have a good long weekend. Enjoy your holiday, okay? Yep. Bye-bye everyone. You can log off now. Good job.